Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with the Keiko Ad Agency. Today I'm excited to bring Spencer Aronfeld with the Aronfeld Trial Lawyers. Welcome, Spencer. How are you today?
Hey, Alex, it is really a pleasure to talk to somebody. So thank you so much for inviting me to be on the program.
Well, you're quite welcome.
I feel like I've been in solitary confinement for the last couple of weeks, so I really appreciate this.
It's kind of the age of Zoom or Vimeo or something, right?
It's changed my life. So it's nice to finally talk to a new person.
All right. So, Aronfeld Trial Lawyers, and of course, you have aronfeld.com being your website. Can you tell us about your agency?
Well, it's a law firm that I created myself nearly 30 years ago. Right when I graduated law school, in spite of graduating near the top of my class at the University of Miami and having this face, no law firm wanted to hire me. So I created my own law firm and have been practicing somewhat successfully right here in Coral Gables, Florida, not far from the campus of UM, for nearly 30 years. And in those 30 years, I've decided to devote my practice very specifically to the representation of those people who've been injured by the carelessness of corporations, or in particular cruise lines, because I'm a maritime personal injury lawyer. So my practice is primarily representing people who get injured on cruises.
Well, there's a lot of cruises that head out of Miami on a daily basis. So, or at least there were. I don't know if there are right now, but
there were. Cruise industry, when it came to a complete standstill in March, it has affected not just the cruise industry, but people like me who depend on people going on cruises to make a living. So it's had a significant impact on our practice, because if people aren't cruising, they're not getting injured. And if they're not getting injured, they're not calling us. And if they're not calling us, we have less to do than we normally would have during normal times.
I completely understand that. I do. No matter, honestly, no matter what business you're in, yours may be more, but no matter what business you're in, you're being affected by what's going on, So we won't digress about myself. Let's talk about you guys and what you guys do. You said you're pretty specific when it comes to your maritime law. So you're pretty specific getting into injuries and that kind of thing on the high seas, if you will. Is there anything that you want to? Are there any other aspects that you guys delve into other than the injury? Or tell me a little bit about what some of the cases are, I guess.
So really, Alex, the typical case is a lady who's never been on a cruise before in her life. She's from Wichita, Kansas. She saved up to go on this retirement cruise with her husband. On the very first day of the cruise, they go down to get the free coffee by the pool, and they slip and fall, or she slips and falls on a wet deck, and unfortunately gets very seriously injured. These people are then often disembarked in foreign countries like the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas or Mexico, left to defend and fend for themselves in a foreign hospital, and find their way back to their hometown. And somebody will then say to them, because most of the folks we represent have never had lawyers, never made a claim, never thought about suing anyone in their lives, but someone says, you ought to look into maybe a potential claim against Carnival or Royal Caribbean or whatever cruise ship this happened on. And hopefully they contact a lawyer who has experience in suing cruise lines, because it's a very specific niche within a niche within a niche. It's not just personal injury. It involves maritime law. These cases are litigated in federal court, not in state court. And the most important piece of information I can give to you and to the people who watch your program is that these cases have to be initiated within 1 year of the date of the incident. So I can't tell you how often we get phone calls from someone from Wichita, or they've contacted their local lawyer, or even a personal injury lawyer who doesn't have experience in suing the cruise lines. And they'll tell us, look, I've been dealing with Carnival now for a year and a half, and they just won't settle the case. And unfortunately, the statute of limitations has already passed, because these claims have to be brought within that 1 year, and they have to be brought almost exclusively, no matter where the passenger is from, And no matter where the accident happened, the accident could happen in Fiji, but the law requires, or the cases require, that they be filed in federal court here in Miami, Florida. And that's why all the major cruise lines, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Norwegian, MSC, they all have their main offices right here in Miami, near the Port of Miami, and near the U.S. Federal Court for the Southern District of Florida, which is where they defend all these cases.
Wow. So that's about as in-depth and like you said, niche within a niche within a niche within a niche. So it's a really good idea for anybody who has taken a trip in the last 12 months. If there was sort of injury involved, that they get a hold of you before that 12 months is up. Because once statute of limitations on maritime law is done, that's it, correct?
Correct. And some of these cruise lines, like Norwegian and Royal, have within the 1 year a notice requirement that says they have to be put on notice of the claim within 180 days. So that poses an additional problem for us if the people didn't necessarily notify the cruise line and said, hey, look, I slipped and fell. And I should tell you, Alex, not every slip and fall on every cruise line is necessarily a case. It has to be the fault of the cruise line, which is a whole nother story as to how we can even prove that these things were the cruise line's fault. But you have to notify them in writing. So if you've been injured and you're watching this program and you're thinking about, do I want to bring a case? Please consult with an experienced maritime personal injury attorney who knows how to hold cruise lines accountable as quickly as possible, because any delay could ultimately cost you any possibility of getting compensation for your pain and suffering, for your medical expenses, for the loss of the cruise. And by the way, Alex, it doesn't necessarily have to happen on the ship. We have plenty of cases where people get injured in port, on excursions, on tender boats, and even coming on and off the ship on those gangways, which can be quite dangerous, boarding one of those gangways. So it is important to make sure that you do consult with an experienced maritime attorney as fast as you can. And that's why we're happy to offer anyone, particularly your audience, a free legal consultation. All they have to do is call us and we'll be happy to speak to them in detail and figure out whether they have a case or not.
Well, that's excellent, sir. And so basically, Spencer, I want you to let everybody know the easiest, the best ways to get a hold of you.
Well, the easiest way is just simply to pick up a phone. You can call me directly at 305-441-0440, or go visit our website at www.aronfeld.com. And there's contact forms and chats and all sorts of things. And the important thing is that you'll speak to a lawyer. You're not going to speak to some answering service or some, service that's maybe in another country. You'll speak directly with an attorney, most likely me, and we'll screen your case and figure out whether we can help you or not.
That's excellent, man. I want to thank you very much for sharing with our audience. And I want to thank you all for tuning into another episode of Ask the Attorney. If you'd like to learn more about Spencer and Aronfeld Trial Lawyers, go to iwannabuzz.com, and we'll see you next time on Ask the Attorney.